Welcome to Teddy's Universe, where we get real wild and we put in work. I said,
what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Teddy. I know it's been a little minute. I've been kind of busy working on this new all-black sketch comedy show. Will be coming soon. I want to say probably sometime around early May. We've been working on that diligently. I got some old videos I could have dropped, but I ain't really been feeling the old videos that I shot lately. I guess they've been sitting around too long. But anyways, I had to make a special comeback to talk about this new episode of this docuseries called Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, in which they went to Nickelodeon and put the highlights on Dan Schneider, who is used to be an old executive for Nickelodeon, filmmaker, film writer. And just to tie things in together, when I said I was working on a new episode of All Black with my fellow shoot fellows, shout out to all of them. It's a sketch comedy show that's a parody of Nickelodeon's All That, which Dan Schneider created. I'm a huge fan of Dan Schneider. Well, I used to be a huge fan of Dan Schneider because Dan Schneider has given me some of my favorite Nickelodeon shows, starting with All That and then branch offs of All That between like Kenan and Kel, the Amanda Bynes show, and then turned into like Drake and Josh, and then turned into like iCarly, Victorious, which is probably one of my favorite live action Nickelodeon shows of all time. Even up to Henry Danger before he started to get in trouble with the antics and shenanigans that he was pulling. So I put a little piece in that says the doc outlines very clearly how Dan Schneider professionally, verbally, and sexually abused colleagues, young and old, and created an environment of abuse which resulted in multiple children being sexually abused, and in the case of Drake Bell, violently sexually assaulted. So shout out to Drake Bell for having the courage to come out and speak up about these situations. I know it took a little while, but you can't really put a timetable on these type of things. So shout out to Drake Bell. Shout out that he went to the therapy to get the help that he needed. Shout out to his father for trying to play a role in trying to protect Drake from the ongoing situations and stuff like that. And I just want to touch on, like, it's just what we thought about, like, the whole Hollywood thing, because most of Nickelodeon used to be shot in Florida, but they moved a lot of it to Hollywood. So it's just like what we think about regular Hollywood. These execs, they get the power. They feel like they untouchable. They feel like they could just be manipulative and get away with certain things, especially if they think they could do it in a more professional way where, it's just TV and stuff like that. And this started a long time ago, and I wish they would have got Amanda Bynes, because this is when Dan Schneider first started to have a little reputation for, I guess, having like a foot fetish. If you used to watch the Amanda Bynes show, he used to have Amanda doing these feet sketches a lot and all of that. And as a kid, you're not thinking nothing of it because it's funny. You know what I'm saying? But then when people started to say, like, yo, he has a foot fetish and he has a foot fetish with the kids that he, cast in these shows and things like that, well, then it's just like you start seeing it kind of differently. You know what I mean? And then when you go through the shows, there's a bunch of foot sketches and vids throughout all these shows from various characters, in which you would think it's just, ha funny, but it turns out to be something more. Now, I am going to get into like some hypocrisies, not from Dan Schneider. There's nothing he could say. He did not really issue an apology, but he came out and said he owes some people an apology. He didn't make the apology, but he said he owes some people a very strong apology. So we'll see how that goes. I'm quite sure Dan Schneider's done. I don't think he could get another job, especially back in Nickelodeon. It really feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it really feels like the most talented people, for the most part, always have these dark characters within themselves. You know what I'm saying? It can never just be like, somebody's super talented. Nobody's perfect, but it's always something like extremely to the dark side as an alter ego. You know what I mean? Dan Schneider, he was an excellent show writer and creator. He created some of these classic shows we love, but it's just no room for this type of stuff. You know what I mean? If you got like a fetish or whatever you like, that's one thing. That's not illegal. Do your thing. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of ways to handle that outside of the workplace, outside of like kids and stuff like that. He's doing this to kids. You know what I mean? Now I did put two pieces up here that says since the recent docuseries has come out, iCarly star Jerry Trainer and iCarly star Nathan Kress has both unfollowed iCarly and Nickelodeon on social media. Now, I was telling people yesterday that this is probably more of a publicity stunt. Not publicity stunt, but a politically correct move, because a lot of these things came out years ago. You don't need a docuseries to bring it out. That's just a new way for like casual people to see it. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't watch Nickelodeon but I got HBO Max and I watched this docuseries, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what was going on. That's something for like me to find out. These stars already knew. You know what I'm saying? And I'll give you a perfect example for these two. They both come from iCarly. Now, Jeanette McCurdy, who plays Sam Puckett on iCarly, quit iCarly or decided not to return because of these type of abuses and assaults that was given to her by Dan Schneider. Now, she came out and told her story. She even wrote a book about it. Well, the book wasn't about that. It was more about her mother. But that was included, a big portion of the book. It was included in the book. And the book came out about, I want to say about 2019, 18, 17, right around the time when they were talking about doing the iCarly reboot. And she was explaining why she wasn't going to come back to the show. And by this time, Dan Schneider had already gotten fired for, everything that was going on. But because it's just not him, and I'll get back to that in a little bit too, it's just not him, it's his team that's doing this. You know what I mean? So just because he's gone, that doesn't mean like the atmosphere is clear all of a sudden. It's the team that needs to go. And I'm not sure if the whole team came back for the iCarly reboot, but all I know is she told her story, and these guys heard the story. They put out messages saying they supported Sam or Jeanette, or you know what I'm saying? They supported her, they loved her, but they also came back to do the show. So because you came back to do the show, it's like you chose a side. So don't jump sides now. That stuff is hitting the fan because it's going to make you look bad. You already look bad. You're going to look bad to anybody who watched the show. You know what I mean? On top of the fact that the show did get canceled, so that could be a reason why there's no reason to like, really follow Nickelodeon. One, I don't even think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think Nickelodeon has a lot of live action shows out right now. You know what I mean? I could give you 3 off the top of my mind, but that's about it. I really couldn't give you more than that. So this could be also just them moving on to better pastures. Characters do that all the time. People do that all the time. Jumping channels. They might go work for Disney or something, which I hear that they know better over there, but another story for another day. So getting back to what I said I was going to touch on in a little bit, when I said that Dan Schneider's team was just as at fault as he was, I'll take it back to, like I said, my favorite show was Victorious. And little nuances of the show, you could tell something was wrong, but you just couldn't tell what was wrong at the time. So it was a lot of documentation and reports that the Victoria Justice, who plays Victoria, Tori Vega in the show, she was very like standoffish and was very like business driven. She would just show up, do what she had to do, and leave. She didn't hang around. She didn't hang out. And at the time when those reports was coming out and those documentations, like they used to vlog behind the scenes, and you could see she was really not a part of like most of the vlogs. You know what I mean? And at the time, people were saying like, "Oh, she's difficult to work with. Oh, she's this, she's that." But in essence, it's just she probably knew what the atmosphere was and wanted no parts of it. You know what I mean? And I'll explain. Let's get into like the atmosphere. So Dan Schneider had a best friend that was like a co-executive or director on the show, and one of his best friends married one of the actors, and the actor had just turned like 17 or 18. I think her name was Liz Gillies, and she plays Jade on the show. And his friend is in like his 40s, and she's like 18. And they were dating behind the scenes, and then they eventually get married. I think they still are married to this day. So I don't know if it makes it any better or okay or whatever. But that's just the atmosphere that was going on these type of shows. Now, what Drake Bell was describing, I'm not really gonna get into that because then I'll probably get banned, flagged, and all that type of stuff. But he was going through a lot, the most of probably anybody, and I would love to hear what Amanda Bynes would have to say. And now I'm just curious to hear like what any of these actors, like the Keenan and Kels, like the Danny Tamborellis from all that, the Nick Cannons and stuff like that, like everybody's account. And I'm quite sure everybody didn't have a bad experience with them because normally in these situations they have a target, they have specific people that they go after, and everybody else is just treated normally, probably with respect, good, blah 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 blah. And it's just interesting to see what goes on behind the scenes of our favorite shows that we love. Now, again, it didn't ruin the childhood for me, like how people ruin my childhood stuff. Like I go back and I'm still gonna watch these shows. I'm still gonna watch some Kenan and Kel. I'm still gonna watch a little Henry Danger here and there. Still gonna watch all that. I'm not gonna be the one to like X out all these shows. Now, if he's in these shows here and there, but if he was in every episode of every show, I probably wouldn't watch it. But he created something that was near and dear to me and a lot of us. So I still go back and partake in some of these episodes. Just like the R. Kelly situation. R. Kelly did some heinous things. Don't like R. Kelly the person, but I still go back and listen to some songs here and there because it was some pretty good songs. Get you through the day, get you through life or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to make a little video talking about this situation, giving some more details that they probably didn't give, that you would have had to been there to know these details, and they probably couldn't cover everything. You know what I mean? But yeah, this was a very interesting docuseries episode, and yeah, it's funny how certain things happen. People will try to manipulate the perspectives and all of that type of stuff. But anyways, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Teddy Blackman, and I'm out of here.